Hello and a very warm welcome back to the garden. It's feeling, well, certain areas of it are already feeling like a jungle and it isn't even May. That's the benefit of perennials. I haven't actually done basically anything in here since the last video apart from a little bit of weeding, and that's okay because I'm being a little bit more patient with this garden and I've got a lot of different things to get on with today. But the main thing is leaving the brassica flowers in is one of the best things that you can do for pollinators, and there is such a hive of activity. They're so busy, it's hard actually trying to get any shots of the bees because they're just so happy bees. Also, it's a boiling hot day, so this is my hat. I'm not that kind of person that can I don't know, maybe I can't wear it very well. Maybe it doesn't suit my style.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Sam. I got this hat at the Hay-on-Wye Literary Festival, literally. So, yes, so excuse the hat, but it's a hot day. I've got a lot of stuff to do, and so let's start in the polytunnel. But firstly, on my way to the polytunnel, this is an update of the hotbed. I have been harvesting quite a bit, but it's just going absolutely bonkers. I mean, look how gorgeous. Look at that, for like a spinach leaf. It's just absolutely pristine, and the carrots looking good and the spring onions are coming through. It's looking amazing. And this big plant here, by the way, is Angelica, and it's been so, like anything that is an umbellifer is amazing for pollinators, but the smell is absolutely gorgeous. It was a completely, I just saw a plant in a garden centre or plant place, and I was just like, I want an Angelica. Oh, there's a little shield bug here actually. How cute. Little update on the comfrey as a concept. It's working really well. It's about to start flowering. I think I will let it flower because the bumblebees adore the flowers of comfrey, but then quite soon I'll chop it back and then let it grow again. But I'm happy with that. Let me know if you've done the same with your ones, because it was the first thing that we did in this series. It's boiling in here, but it needs a little bit of attention because I want to start getting this ready for tomatoes. And you know what? I'm going to plant tomatoes in here again this year. I didn't have any blight or anything last year, so tomatoes again this year. The grapevine is coming back into life. The apricot actually has a few apricots on it, which is nice. I need to manage that. This massive beast was a white sprouting broccoli, Burbank it's called, fantastic variety, plenty of time to sow it, super productive. I've got various other things as well, so I'm going to remove some of the bigger things to put on the compost heap, and then I'm actually just going to chop and drop. Now if I can get through, down here I've actually got dill, and it smells absolutely gorgeous. So this is just self-sown dill, so I will do a little bit of a harvest, but the main goal here is that there's a lot of things coming through, but I don't really want to put this on the compost. I'm going to chop and drop and just keep the fertility here. So yeah, I'm going to quickly work through this whole bed, get this ready, and I reckon in the next segment of this series, I was going to call it season, the next episode, I'll actually probably end up planting the tomatoes here, which is great because I need to do it. Right, that's my 4-arm workout done for the day. It's absolutely boiling. I'm just going to turn on the soaker hose so it can start to rehydrate, because I have abandoned it a bit, but because of all the organic matter, and this will act a bit like a mulch, I just get it nicely rehydrated for getting the tomatoes out. So the sweet peas that we planted, and also the tree collard you can see there, these are growing nicely. They're putting up a lot of shoots. They just need a little bit of help now to get them going up, and hopefully this will create this beautiful scene. So what I'm going to do is just tie in some string and just loop it around like a helter-skelter going upwards, and that is really all they'll need for this year. Probably the most challenging part of this garden is this boundary here, which is almost always in shade. There are some things that do quite well, like the fennel always does well, and behind the fennel is a little clump of wild garlic which is currently flowering, and wild garlic is an excellent crop that you can actually just grow in your gardens. You don't have to go out and forage it. But this is my next addition to this area, which I am definitely going to more or less perennialize. You know, you can see there's some raspberries coming through there that I might let them occupy that space, which would be nice. But this is Sweet Cicely, and Sweet Cicely is a beautiful plant. Oh, by the way, I think this is meadow sweet coming up, so I'm going to keep that in, and it's quite common to Sweet Cicely in terms of, well, they both basically smell the same, which is sweet, and they both have sweet in the name, so it's just quite fitting. Anyway, this is a one that I grew. It is flowering at the moment, so after filming I am going to remove the flowers so it puts more energy into growth, but I am just going to plant it here, just a bit on the edge, and it works better in kind of damper areas, semi-shade, partial shade. This is almost full shade, but there is sunlight or light directly above, so it should do all right. You know, I've managed to grow successful beetroot along here, so it'll be fine. And you know, imagine that there, but growing quite big and occupying this space and smelling lovely with the meadowsweet and the fennel and the rose. It's like a poem. There's a bit of an issue here, sadly, is that some of you might remember from this series that I've planted some onions underneath. Well, out of all of the directions that the kale could have flopped, it decided to flop over the onions. And I mean, the bumblebees have a lot of flowers here, so I am going to take it out. I'll just put it on the compost, and hopefully they'll get another hour or so of nectar or whatever bumblebees need. And I can have my onions. Just shaking it so I can keep as much soil back as possible. There you go. Oh, I got a potato and a borage there as well. For such a big plant, not the best root system, is it? Well, the best thing about co-running a plant nursery is that I get to have all of the B-grade products for free. And this is Asturian tree cabbage. It's a short-lived perennial. A lot of you know how much I love it. This is right next to me. I kept it in for the bees because it is really easy to grow from seed. Kept it in for the bees. Had I harvested all of the shoots, it would have just lived another year and produced, and it is super duper. But I am going to clear that. I'm having a bit of a site redesign, and I don't actually need, if it's just for me, I don't need that many Asturian tree cabbages. It's more than enough cabbage, and in fact it means I don't really have to grow heading cabbage, although I might do a couple of greyhounds. So all I'm going to do here is plant a couple in this bed so they can start to get underway, and I might do it as a group of 3 like this. So what I'll end up doing is I'll have a little bit of space here. Actually, I might, this is my style of gardening. It's very like make it up as you go along, as long as it, you know, makes sense. So I'm going to leave an open area here. I think this would be lovely for like a splash of colour. I actually have some calendula or something that I could put in. But yeah, I'm going to get these planted. Within a couple of weeks I could already start to harvest these leaves, which will be nice. Now with Asturian tree cabbage, as it grows, I can harvest the lower leaves, and it's kind of like lateral pruning of a tree just to open up some light underneath and a bit of space. And I've got some spare calendula here. Calendula is great. You can eat the leaves of calendula. The flowers are also edible. And I'm actually going to dot in 1, 2, 3 calendulas here and allow them to just grow in and around the Asturian tree cabbage. I will then probably build on top of that and look at something like some coriander or even just some nigella, just to have a few different visual things popping through, just to make this less of a sea of green, which, you know, green is a very good colour. It's my favourite colour, funnily enough, but I like other colours too. Right, part of my tradition is change my mind, so I'm actually going to take this self-sown borage here, and because I love the blue of borage, and I'm going to use this to occupy this area where the other calendula was going to be, and just stick that in like that. So then you'd get the oranges, the blues, the very contrasting colours on the wheel, and the Asturian tree cabbage. And that's what I'm really getting into at the moment with growing, is how can I just put different things together? How might they grow? There's no worry about companion planting rules or anything like that. If a plant wants to grow, it wants to grow. And it's a chance to get creative and create these mini plantings, these mini gardens, these mini scenes within your garden. Next up is potatoes, and I've got some saved potatoes from my own Sarpo mirrors from last year. I have just released a video actually about how to be self-sufficient in potatoes, and for those of you that do know, this is like my little allotment garden within our wider permaculture site, and I have grown, or I have planted hopefully enough for me to be completely self-sufficient in potatoes. But I want some here. I love potatoes. I'll never get bored of harvesting them. And these are leeks here that I'm trying to see if I can perennialize them. There's actually, you could just swing round actually just a little bit here. There's an example of leeks, just keeping them in, taking out the flowers, sending up new shoots. It's behaving a bit like Babington's leek. So these are a couple of experiments that I have going on. And then there's some self-sown nasturtiums as well. So much is coming through. But I am going to put some potatoes in, and I'm just going to keep this very simple because this is a very fertile soil, as you saw for the Asturian tree cabbage. And so what I'm thinking is have some potatoes here to occupy this space and leave a bit of gap, because I don't want to really disturb those Asturian tree cabbages, because they're going to stay in until at least next year, maybe for more years. So these potatoes I'm going to harvest late. So I think what could also work quite nicely is I'll probably put a squash in this bed, and whilst those flowers then finish off, I'll let the squash grow through and underneath the Asturian tree cabbage, and it can kind of flop over on top of these potatoes. So I'm just going to plant them around 10 centimeters deep, really simple, and I'll have a nice crop of spuds. So this area is developing fairly nicely. There's a lot of different perennial vegetables coming through, like the bulbous nettle, which actually has put out a lot of bulbils, and last night I've potted up about 20 plants from this one little area that has grown on. And yeah, this is a type of sorrel called Abundance, and it's a beautiful flavour, and it's just nice to have this perennial corner of food. And the lovely thing about perennials here, I can't see any slug damage whatsoever. Also, just a little tip based on slugs. Slugs like to target weaker plants, so if you do want to give your transplants the best head start, that is when hardening off, I think, is worth it. Apart from that, if you don't have slug problems, hardening off, sometimes I barely do it, but I would do it if I am getting a lot of slug problems. But based on the fact of this self-seeding and growing well, I've actually noticed I've got loads of mashua that are just starting to sprout. So I'm gonna just plant them up. So here was where I had mashua last year, which was also called perennial nasturtium. And I think the leaves are a lot more beautiful. There's something that we've been selling on the nursery and we just sold out. I will be selling plants later this year, so if you do want them, sign up to the newsletter. But I've been amazed by how hardy it is. Like this here, I was just like a tuber that's just been on the surface of the soil all winter, and they're all sprouting. So I would reckon I have maybe 20 plants here. I don't need 20. I want to make sure that they're spaced well over a foot apart because they're so productive. Otherwise, they'll just outcompete each other. So I've got a lot of these to pot up, which links in nicely to this video, which is showing you why having a polyculture in a messier garden is actually one of the best things you can do in terms of getting really cool plants popping up the following year.